Today's Daily Dose of Math is about how to simplify a fraction so that it doesn't have a decimal in it. Now, why would a fraction have a decimal inside it? This is something that we would mostly try to avoid when we're doing math. But it happens sometimes in the course of our calculations. Here's an example. If I have this straight line equation, and I have to plug a value in to the x position and solve for y, the value I'm plugging in might be a decimal. Well, I have 1/2 times 0.5 plus 7/2. I need to simplify this. There's more than one way of doing it, but one fast way is to simply multiply the numerator of the fraction by the 0.5. We end up with a weird fraction that has a decimal inside of it. 0.5 over 2 plus 7/2 has to be simplified. When we add these two fractions, since they already have a common denominator, we end up with 7.5 over 2. Now we have a fraction with a decimal in it, and this might be an answer that we want to give to our question. If we want to clean this up, we can get rid of that decimal. Here's how. We have 7.5 over 2. We're going to expand the fraction so that the numerator no longer has a decimal in it. If we're familiar with decimals and have a bit of number sense, we realize that multiplying 0.5 by 2 will turn it into a 1, and 1 doesn't have a decimal. So if I multiply both the top and the bottom of this fraction by 2, it's going to help me to solve this little problem. 7.5 times 2 is 15. And 2 times 2 is 4. So I now have the improper fraction 15 quarters. This is more acceptable. It could still be simplified a bit by converting it into a mixed number, but that's not what this video is about. Let's do a couple more examples to make sure that we understand what to do. If we had 0.25 over 2, and we want to get rid of that decimal, we know that 0.25 is 1/4 of 1. Think of money. 25 cents is 1/4 of $1. That tells me that I can multiply top and bottom by 4, and it's going to cancel my decimal. 4 times 0.25 is 1, and 2 times 4 is 8, so I end up with 1/8 as my answer. This time, it doesn't need to be simplified any further at all. I've gotten rid of that weird fraction with a decimal in it and turned it into a more normal, easy to understand fraction. One more example. If we have 0.4 over 7, this one's a little bit more complicated. How do you get 0.4 to cancel, to not be a decimal, to turn into a 1? Well, you can't multiply it to turn it into a 1. 0.4 times 2 is 0.8. 0.4 times 3 is 1.2. We skipped over 1. Didn't happen. But if we multiply both top and bottom of this fraction by 5, 0.4 times 5 is 2. There's no decimal in there. 7 times 5 is 35, so we have 2/35 as our answer. By playing around with the decimals that we have to figure out what number we need to multiply them by so that the decimal cancels, so that we end up with a whole number, we're able to simplify a lot of these weird fractions with decimals in them. That is today's Daily Dose of Math. Please like, subscribe, and share.